Hi, my name is Kiara. I'm with the marketing team, and I'm here to talk to Frankie today about people ops.
Hi, and I'm Francesca, and aka Frankie for short, and I am currently the manager of operations and people ops at Cirrus Insight.
So, first of all, what is people ops, and what inspired you to do the role?
Absolutely. People operations can be different based on the company and the culture that they're trying to establish. But in a nutshell, it is a method of helping support relationships between employees and leaderships while optimizing all processes within the company and maximizing them to make sure that we're aligned as a company in our culture. I surprisingly fell into the role. I was doing HR administration, company operations previously. And once we merged with Zimbit, they had this department. And so we just kind of adopted that from them. And I absolutely loved the concept and what the mission was under people operations team.
Yeah, since it is a new role, do you think that other teams should adopt this position since we're seeing more of a concern about mental health post-pandemic?
Absolutely. People operations, one thing I've learned through my research and just dealing with it on a daily basis is, the pandemic has really shifted how people perceive life and their role in their business. And so companies have to reorganize and look at it from that perspective. It's a more humane way of looking and dealing with things. So I feel like it is absolutely beneficial for it to be adopted from most companies, but again, it's based on what they're trying to accomplish internally.
All right. And if you're trying to accomplish, really trying to find the right seat for people, what would you say a good method or like a thought process is for doing that?
Continuous communication. One of the things that we've had to learn as a company is how we communicate to each other, to be as transparent as possible, make sure that if we have an open door policy that we stick with it and that we abide by it and then don't, cause judgment on anything that's brought to the supervisors or the leads, and really encourage empowering employees to speak up if they're uncomfortable, if they're not happy in their role, if there's a way that we can do departmental collaboration, just to kind of help them strengthen their skills or see if there's anything else out there that they would be intrigued with.
What would be the biggest challenge that leadership has faced with the pandemic?
The biggest challenge I would have to say is keeping up with the competition that the pandemic has added to the industry in tech. There's a lot more competition in recruitment, higher pays are being provided. So just keeping up with being able to provide those options to new hires or even our internal current employees, while keeping them happy and engaged has been extremely complicated just because we're against so many other major competitors.
Since you are new in the role, what has your biggest challenge been?
Engagement. Just having people go from an office space to, continuously behind a video screen and keeping them engaged, through all the Zoom fatigue that many are having has been one of the most challenging things I've ever had to deal with.
And then what do you think has made the biggest difference for you facing that challenge?
What's been the biggest difference, you would say? I would say for myself, the biggest difference is just really looking outside of my own comfort zone and my own structured way of thinking and having to really levitate that to another level because you've got to start being more creative. You have to think of the person and their personalities. There's so many numerous variables that go into trying to not only build a culture that you want for your company, but making sure that everybody's, on the same track, that we're all aligned. So the biggest difference for me, I would have to say, is just absolutely engaging in that creativity side and just really looking outside the box when trying to establish a process or get something rolling internally.
Yeah. Since there have been a lot of big challenges for leadership, what would you say a good way for them to look outside the box would be?
I would have to say additional skill sets. One thing about COVID that I've noticed is managers are no longer just managers, they're mentors. They're, kind of an additional network for their employer, their department. So one of the biggest things that I'm currently helping to work with our leadership team is provide those additional skill sets and resources to just kind of hone in on those more interactive talking points when they do have those with their employees. And because it has been very difficult making that major shift so quickly in less than 2 years, especially when, managers were more used to just being strictly managers and they were confined to that thought process. And now it's just become a lot broader of a role for them.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Frankie, for taking the time to talk with us about people ops. It's really interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime. And I appreciate you taking the time to ask the questions. And yeah, people ops is a very nice concept. So we can thank Google for it.